got a song with Chief Keef. They called Who I Am.
That was Lul Timm, the man responsible for killing King Von. He dropped a video teasing a track with Chief Keef, but O'Block and F aren't having it, and they're calling out Keef for linking up with Von's killer. Now, things are about to get wild. Let's break it down. The song that started everything. February 13th, 2026. Mike Will Made It put out a record that nobody in the chai saw coming. He dropped Rooms, Chief Keef and NBA Youngboy on the same track, vibing together for the first time ever on wax. Mike Will announced it himself, put both names on the credits, and let it loose. The joint went live on Spotify and YouTube same day. Millions of streams, no cap. For the average rap fan, it was a historic collab. Two of the most respected names in the game finally sharing a beat. But for anyone locked in on what was really going on between these camps, anybody from O'Block, anybody running with F, this was not a W to celebrate. This was a problem. To really understand why, you got to rewind to November 6, 2020. That night, Devin Bennett, King Von, got smoked outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge at 255 Trinity Avenue in downtown Atlanta. 26 years old. A parking lot beef between two groups turned into a full-on shootout. 6 dudes got hit. 3 didn't make it. King Von was one of them. Timothy leaks. Tim was rolling with the ops that night. He was deep with Quando Rondo's circle. He caught a bullet himself in the exchange, but he survived. And while he was laid up in the hospital getting stitched, Atlanta PD ran up in there and chained him to the bed.
Okay, so you're in the hospital, you were shot yourself, and then you actually get arrested for the shooting?
Right, like a couple days later in the hospital, they come chain me to the bed.
He didn't even know what they had on him at first.
They don't even tell me what I'm charged with. He just come in there, I see the handcuffs, I'm like, oh, I know what he finna do. He say something like, you're not charged. He said, you just detained right now.
He didn't even know what they had on him at first.
I got a song with Chief Keef. Called Who I Am. I can't play that bitch though.
The very next day, November 7, 2020, Atlanta police hit Lul Timm with a felony murder charge for King Von's death. They booked him into Fulton County Jail. Now, here is where the 4K connection comes in heavy. Lul Timm is a certified 4KT affiliate. 4KT is NBA Youngboys set out of Baton Rouge. The same NBA Youngboy that Sosa, Chief Keef, just cut a record with in 2026. That right there is why Rooms was never just a song. That joint was a grenade the second it dropped. Whether Keef meant it that way or not, the moment it hit streaming, O'Block and F went crazy online. Comments flooding in, reposts going viral, threads getting lit up, the core of what everybody was saying. Chief Keef, a dude who came up in the same Black Disciples ecosystem as King Von, who shares block history with O'Block, just walked into the studio and laid down a record with the founder of the crew that Lul Timm, Van's alleged killer, bangs with, no named O'Block or Fist, stepped up with an official statement right away. Lil Durk, F's head dude in charge and one of Van's day ones, had been locked up since late 2024 on federal charges and couldn't say a word publicly. But the temperature in the OB block and F internet streets was through the roof. And then it got worse. A few weeks later, Lul Timm himself pulled up on camera and started talking about how he's got a song with Key just sitting in the vault.
It's like, damn. It's like, boom, I don't really find out I get charged with murder until I get to Fulton County, because they never told me what I was charged with. So when I finally see my charge, I'm like, damn, they charging me for murder. Like, it don't say first degree, it don't say this, it just say murder.
Can't drop it, but he's holding it. 8 bars of Sosa on a record that Lul Timm, the dude O'Block blames for Van's death, is sitting on like a trophy. To really clock why O'Block and F took this whole situation as a violation, you got to understand who Lul Timm actually is and what the paperwork says about him from jump. Who Lul is and why it matters. Lul Timothy leaks came up around 1998. By the time he was in his early 20s, he was a confirmed card-carrying member of 4KT NBA Youngboys Baton Rouge set. Not on the fringes either. He was deep in the mix, traveling with the crew, putting 4KT in his music, repping the set publicly on camera in video after video before and after 2020. His most documented link to the Chicago world is not a rap beef. It is the night King Von got his wig split. The GBI confirmed the timeline. Two groups pulled up on each other in the parking lot outside Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta at around 3:20 in the morning on November 6, 2020. The hands started flying and then the steel came out. 6 men got hit, 2 died on the scene. King Von and a man named Mark Blakely, also out of Chicago. 2 off-duty Atlanta officers in the area jumped in and started squeezing too. Lul Timm was on the other side of that beef. He caught a bullet, but stayed breathing. And by the time the doctors were patching him up, the detectives were already posted outside his room.
And then I get there, she tell me like, boom, boy, they didn't dismiss the case.
And when it sank in, he put it straight on God.
I'm like, damn, boy, God real. Like, God that came through and dropped the case.
Felony murder in Georgia. That charge is non-bondable. At first hearing, they wouldn't even let him see a bail number. He got denied bond twice before Fulton County court records confirm he finally posted a $100,000 shitey bond on March 27, 2021, and walked out with an ankle bracelet on his leg. The case dragged for over 2 years. No grand jury indictment ever came back. On August 20, 2023, his attorney, Noah Pines, made it official. The case against Mr. Leaks was dismissed prior to ever being indicted. The DA's office decided not to push it. Murder charge gone. No trial, no conviction. Done. When Lul found out, his mama set him up, called him acting like something was wrong just to get him to pull up to the house.
I be seeing folks them doing interviews and vlogs and all types of so.
Yeah,
Hey man, they might with it. They might with it. I don't know. Y'all gotta go to Front Street. Y'all gotta go to Old. If that's the case, y'all gotta go to all the block, all the sets. Y'all gotta go to Lemron, 300. Y'all gotta think about 300.
And when it sank in, he put it straight on God.
Some of the people from my block, like who got real names, like they talk to Keef. So like it's nothing. Like I was just finna bring Keef on tour.
Okay, see, I'm not because the internet been saying I've been secretly beefing.
For O Block and F. None of that legal outcome changed anything on the street side of things. In their world, Lul Timm smoked VAW and then walked free dude, and now years later here, he is not just connected to Keef through Young Boy, but actually claiming to have Keef on a track himself. There was also a separate run-in with the law on Timm's record away from the Vaughn case. In October 2022, while he was still out on bond, he got bagged after a high-speed police chase in Georgia and picked up multiple drug and traffic charges. Those charges were still listed as pending when the murder charge got dropped in 2023. No public court updates, no convictions, no dispositions tied to those 2022 charges anywhere in the official record through April 2026. And then the federal end of this story adds an entirely different level of gravity. In October 2024, a federal indictment out of Los Angeles hit 5 dudes with ties to F: Kayvon London Grant, DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and Asa Houston, charging them with murder and murder for hire in connection with a 2022 plot to slide on Quando Rondo in retaliation for King Von's death. That hit landed on Quando Rondo's cousin, Saviera Robinson, at a Beverly Grove gas station in L.A. He didn't make it. Prosecutors also alleged in Lil Durk's own federal case that Durk had put a bag on Quando Rondo's head, reportedly worth up to $1 million, including music opportunities, as a response to what went down with Vaughn in 2020. That is the temperature of the situation Chief Keef walked into when he stepped in the booth with NBA Young Boy. A world where the fallout from that 2020 Atlanta parking lot had already produced a federal murder for hire case, a federal racketeering case against F's own founder, and an unresolved legal cloud hanging over the central figure of the original Smoke. And right in the middle of all that heat, Keef dropped rooms. But to really understand why the backlash hit the way it did, you got to look at the deep history between Cuz Camp and O Block long before any of this 2026 drama ever popped off. Chief Keef, O Block, and the history between them. The O Block reaction to rooms was not just about 2020. It was sitting on top of a decade plus of history between Keys people and O Block that the internet barely understands. And when you look at the actual receipts, the picture gets way more complicated than the fan narrative makes it out to be. First thing to get straight, Chief Keef and O Block are not the same set. Not even close. Keef Keith Cart is Lamron. 300 Lamron, a Black Disciples faction out of Englewood on the south side of Chicago. O Block is its own separate BD faction out of Parkway Gardens. A whole different block, a whole different set of politics. They share the broader Black Disciples umbrella. Yeah, they share Southside Chicago geography. Yeah, but they are two separate operations with two separate sets of rules. Keith himself broke it down in a clip that resurfaced when the backlash hit.
It was simple. When Keith got his deal, he moved an hour away.
Out of there.
Even before he left, he moved an hour away. These niggas in his house stealing it. Boss Top stealing, asking us for money, all kind of shit. Niggas want this nigga to pay bills, all kind of shit.
300 is Lamron's number. That is Cosette, not O'Block's. Two different things under the same gang umbrella. And that separation is the exact foundation that Lul was standing on when he came out to defend Keef against the Backlash. But the beef between Lamron GBE and O'Block has real documented smoke in it, even if it never ended in anybody catching a conviction. In 2014, members connected to O'Block with an affiliate named Boss Top, referenced in investigative context, allegedly ran up in Chief Keef's suburban mansion without permission. According to police records, they cleaned the place out, clothes, jewelry, personal items, and a shooting popped off inside. Chicago PD rolled up, treated it as a robbery, an aggravated battery situation, and brought Keef in for questioning as the victim. Station footage from the investigation leaked showing Keef sitting in a holding cell waiting on his lawyer. On top of that, a separate shooting hit one of Chief Keef's managers' homes in April 2014, and investigators looked into whether the two incidents were connected. Police sought a person of interest. No arrests against any named O'Block affiliates came out of either investigation in any public court records from that period. Then there is the Durk situation. Lil Durk, FF's general, had real documented friction with Keef between 2013 and 2014. In a 2015 BET interview, Durk admitted straight up to the threats and the back and forth between the two camps and described a 3-hour FaceTime session where both men said their piece, acknowledged they came from the same hood, and agreed to dead it. Durk called it a lot of BS going on before and confirmed they were squared up by mid-2015. No police reports, no bodies, no court filings tied to the Durk-Keef friction in any official records from 2012 through 2015. In a later sit-down, Durk squashed the internet narrative about them beefing entirely.
Man, bro, did a song with Lul Timm. Man, y'all, shut y'all they ain't gonna do niggas up, man. All that crying is about a song.
Squashed years before Rooms ever existed. And yet, the second that track dropped, the internet dug all of it back up and tried to reframe it as Keith going against his own. What made the whole thing even more wild was that when named O'Block figures actually went on record in February 2026, some of the loudest voices were not coming for Keith at all. They were going to bat for him, and they used the 2014 robbery as their whole argument. Big Mike, a publicly identified O'Block affiliate, pulled up on Cam Capone News in mid-February 2026 and addressed the fallout heathen. He brought up the mansion incident directly, said O'Block members had been stealing from Keef, running up his pockets, finessing him for bail and handouts, and that because of all of that, Key did not owe O'Block a single thing. 607, another O'Block adjacent voice, said in a February 2026 interview that Key doesn't owe O'Block anything after they robbed him. Same energy, same point. The history of O'Block running Kef's pockets was being used by O'Block's own people to justify Keef cutting ties with their politics. A commentator with direct plug-in to the Chicago scene broke down the whole arc in a clip that went viral alongside the Backlash.
Get some money.
The argument being made from inside O'Block's own circle was airtight. Keef got the bag. People around O'Block started taxing him for it, and he dipped. He took his real family and got up out of there. What loyalty was he supposed to keep for the same dudes who were running through his crib? That is the context behind Rooms. And once Keith fired back publicly with Lul pulling up right behind him, the whole situation went to another level. Keith fires back and Lim enters the conversation. By mid-February 2026, the internet noise around Rooms had gotten loud enough that Chief Keef was not just going to let it ride. He stepped out himself and addressed it on camera. In video statements from late February 2026 and a public address on March 7, 2026, Key clapped back at the F members who had been on his neck over the Young Boy feature. He did not call any specific names. He did not get into a back and forth. He simply made it clear that he moves how he wants, collaborates with who he wants, and does not answer to any Cruise Street politics when it comes to his music. He had already been ghost from the Chicago streets for years, physically gone, professionally separate, living in LA, and building his legacy on his own terms, long before Rooms was ever a conversation. NBA Youngboy also stepped up in a mid-February 2026 clip, defending the collab, keeping it short, and making it clear he had nothing but love for Cuz music and zero interest in getting pulled into a crew loyalty debate. But Lul was the one who really came out swinging. In multiple video drops from mid-February 2026, he pulled up on O'Block and F as a collective and told them to stop acting salty over a song.
I got a song with Chief Keef called Who I Am. I can't play that bitch though.
He was talking directly to the O'Block and F dudes who had been on the internet wilding out since the release dropped.
I promise you, I'm not making this up, I swear.
I gotta start getting more into the internet shit.
They said that you be dissing Keef for not taking care of the guys.
Hot New Hip Hop ran the story on February 16, 2026. The clips spread everywhere. Threads, Instagram, Facebook. The message from Lul was the same across all of it. Keith does not owe anybody anything. The man bounced. The man secured the bag. The man works with who he wants. But Lul Timm being the one to say all of this was not a neutral move for O'Block and F. It was the most disrespectful part of the whole situation. This was the dude who they believe caught Vaughn walking around free on camera defending Cuz right to rock with his crew's founder and actively taunting the people who had been grieving Vaughn since 2020. In the O Block and F comment sections, Lul Timm inserting himself was not being read as just an opinion. It was being read as a slide through the internet. He was not sitting back and letting the Keef collab speak for itself. He was in the mix on camera, waving it in people's faces. And then in early April 2026, he let it slip that he had his own joint with Keef cooking.
The point what I'm trying to tell y'all, which this is exactly why it's going to be an interesting case with Lul Timm and Quando, is that if Lul Timm, who's in this car, says he sees individuals in this crowd with a gun in their hand, that might be self-defense.
Jademic's Threads account posted the clip on April 8, 2026, and O Block adjacent comment sections erupted immediately. The track title keeps getting referenced as Who Am, though some reposts have been calling it Who Hiding, but in Lul Timm's own words from the original clip, it is Who I Am. The record has not dropped. No audio, not on any platform, no statement from Keef or Glory Boys Entertainment confirming or denying it exists. As of April 9, 2026, it lives only in what Lul Timm has said about it on camera. But that was more than enough to pour gasoline on everything that was already smoldering. The reaction exposed something bigger, though, a pattern that had been building since the moment Vaughn died. A pattern that, when you lay out the full receipts, explains exactly why the O Block and F response stayed at the level of internet smoke and never became anything more on the record. The full receipts and what they actually show. Pull back from all the internet noise and look at what the paperwork actually says from start to finish. What you find is a story about crews that were never as unified as the fans believed, and a reaction to a single record that cracked open every fault line that had been sitting underground since 2014. Chief Keef and O Block share BD lineage in Southside geography. That is real, but the sets are separate. Keef is Lamron Dar's GBE. King Van was O Block F. Lul Timm is 4KT. 3 different flags, 3 different home bases, Englewood, Parkway Gardens, Baton Rouge. The connections between all 3 of them come through incidents and proximity, not through shared membership or formal alliances on any official record. The 2014 mansion robbery is the earliest documented smoke between Cuz World and O Block. The police were there. Keef was the victim. The investigation was opened, and when it closed, not a single named O Block affiliate had caught a charge from it in any public court outcome. But the incident was real. It was on record, and it set the tone for how far Keef was going to keep himself from O Block's orbit in the years that followed. By the time Vaughn was in his prime run in 2018 and 2019, Keef had been ghost from Chicago for years. He was in LA. He was locked in on his own career. O Block politics were not his problem. The Dirk situation was fully resolved on record in Dirk's own words. A FaceTime call, a mutual D-tit, brothers from the same hood. Dirk made that clear in the interview.
In Georgia, you are allowed to use lethal force in self-defense of yourself or someone you're with if you deem that someone is presenting danger to you or them. No, Tim saw through the front mirror that them niggas had weapons, and he hopped out with his weapon, and that's why he used it.
Dirk treated the whole internet beef narrative as disconnected from reality. And the actual documented record backs him up completely. No court filings, no police reports, no documented physical confrontations between named members of either camp tied to the Dirk-Keef dynamic in any official record reviewed through April 2026. The documented legal picture around Lul Timm himself adds another level to understanding why no formal response ever materialized from O Block or F. DJ academics analyzed the surveillance footage from the 2020 Atlanta shooting and laid out why the self-defense argument was sitting right there in the tape from day one.
I'm like, damn, boy, God real. God that came through and dropped the case. God knew, like, man, I don't want you to goddamn be in jail for the rest of your life. Like, you got a purpose, you got shit to do.
Academics walked through the Georgia law that made the whole dismissal make legal sense from the jump. 16. And Lul Timm himself leaned all the way into the idea that God cleared him because what he did was righteous. For O Block and F, that framing is dead disrespectful. But the legal reality is the legal reality, and the institutional response from their side of the fence has been swallowed up by their own legal problems. 5 connected dudes are federally charged in the 2022 murder for higher plot tied to retaliation for Van's death. Lil Durk is sitting in federal custody with his own case active. The O Block F infrastructure in 2026 is getting eaten alive by the feds legally, financially, in terms of who is even free to speak. Into that situation walked Chief Keef, the original founder of this whole sound. The dude who kicked the door open for the entire Chicago drill movement and made King Von's career possible in the first place and dropped a collab with Young Boy like it was nothing. Chief Keef's album Skeletor dropped in April 2026 without a single professional consequence. No label fallout, no industry backlash, no police report tied to any confrontation coming out of the room situation. His manager, Idris Dykes, even came out to kill rumors that Keef had been shot in Chicago in January 2026, confirmed Keef had not been in the city in years, and that there was zero law enforcement or hospital documentation to support any shooting claims. Here is what the full scoreboard looks like. Keef made a record with Young Boy. Young Boy runs 4KT. Lul Timm is 4K. Lul Timm was charged with smoking King Von. The charge got dropped. Lul Timm is also sitting on an unreleased joint with Keef himself. O'Block and F barked at Keef for all of it. Keef told them he does not answer to anybody. Lul Timm pulled up and told O'Block and F to go get a bag instead of crying on the internet. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.